What's up, Richard? Timmons here. Now, with the new Spike Lee film Highest to Lowest out now in theaters and it'll hit Apple next month though, but still. Now, I actually did do this video back in 2018, but I just saw this, made that video before I even saw Black Klansman. So I decided to go ahead and update it and do my top 10 favorite Spike Lee movies. He always calls them Spike Lee joints. I love Spike Lee. He always makes some really solid content. Going way back to like the 80s, to 90s, 2010s and stuff. So here is my official top 10 favorite Spike Lee movies. All right, coming in at number 10 is the film Crooklyn. Now, Crooklyn is set in 1970s Brooklyn and is a semi-autobiographical drama that follows the Carmichael family and focuses on young Troy Carmichael as she navigates childhood, family struggles, loss, and is of course like his heartfelt captures nostalgia. And obviously, Spike Lee grew up in New York City, and so this definitely is more like a personal film to him. And it's really decent, great family dynamic, great chemistry with all the cast. Of course, you got like Alfred Woodard, Delroy Lindo, Zelda Harris. Really amazing film. Really captures 1970s Brooklyn perfectly here. Really good film. All right. Coming in at number 9 is School Days. Now, School Days is of course set at a fictional HBCU Mission College campus, and tensions flare between students over issues of colorism, class, and identity. And it is, of course, a music drama here that conflicts, explores intra-community dynamics, activism, and all. It, of course, stars the likes of Lawrence Fishburne, Tisha Campbell, from More Wife and Kids fame, Giancarlo Esposito, Ozzie Davis, Bill Nunn. The music is really decent. Of course, this got released in 1988, and it's a really interesting, look at, at Urban College, and, of course, great performances by Fishburne, Esposito, of course, one of the earliest films, with Tisha Campbell in it, and it's a really good one there. All right, number 8 is Bamboozled. Now, Bamboozled, of course, starred Damon Wayans, speaking of My Wife and Kids. You also got Tommy Davidson, Michael Rappaport, Mos Def, Paul Mooney, and it's about this TV writer named Pereira Delacroix, who pitches a satirical minstrel show to mock news network racism. And then, of course, this is actually comedy, but really showcased Damon Wayans' serious charm. And I think Damon Wayans could have easily got an Oscar nomination for this, because he was actually really good in Bamboozled. Damon really hit off his own against Tisha Campbell. Jay Pinkett, my bad. Tommy Davidson was great. Mos Def definitely had some fun humor to it. Again, Damon really nailed every inch. Really, it's very funny. It gets very serious at times. Really good movie, worth giving out. All right, number 7 is Inside Man. Now, this movie, of course, stars Denzel Washington, Clive Owen, Jodie Foster, William Dafoe, Chiwetel Ejiofor, and it's about this bank robber named Dalton Russell who orchestrates a heist in Manhattan, holding hostages and outsmarting police here. And it's a really interesting, it is an interesting heist movie. Before Highest to Lowest, this is actually the last movie Denzel and Spike Lee did together, so that's something there. Of course, Denzel Washington plays the detective. Clive Owen plays, the bank robber Dalton. It is a really entertaining one. Great performances. Highly recommend Inside Out. You don't have... Did I say Inside Out? Inside Man, my bad. Highly recommend Inside Man. You don't need to borrow for a sequel, because for some other reason they went ahead and did a sequel, and it was terrible. But this is actually a really good one, so highly recommend that. Alright, number 6 is He Got Game. Now, this is, of course, a basketball movie that stars Denzel Washington, Rosario Dawson, Hill Harper, Mila Jovovich, Zelda Harris, Ned Beatty. And it's about, Denzel Washington plays Jake Shuttleworth, who's a convicted felon who is offered a reduced sentence if he can convince his estranged son, Jesus, a high school basketball process to attend governor's alma mater. It is a really decent emotional sports drama. Really showcase how good Denzel is with working Spike Lee, and of course the other cast members is really great. It's a really decent film, worth giving a go. All right, number 5 is Summer of Sam, one of Spike Lee's most underappreciated movies, in my opinion. This movie, of course, takes place in New York City in 1977 during the Son of Sam serial killer's reign. There's also, by the way, a docu-series on Netflix about the Son of Sam as well, so highly recommend that. Uh, by the way, this, of course, is a drama. The Son of Sam killer is like very heavy in this one, but it's actually not all about the killings that happen in New York City. It is a tense drama that follows a group of Italian Americans, friends in the Bronx, as fierce, suspicious, and momentarily gripped their neighborhood. And it's very good paranoia, culture unrest here. Great cast members. You got John Leguizamo, Adrien Brody, Maria Sorvino, Jennifer Esposito, Anthony LaPaglia. It has some really great cast members. Very intense. I mean, obviously, I wasn't born in in the '70s, but this really made me feel like it really captured 1970s New York perfectly, and maybe really wish I was raised in the '70s. And it's a really interesting one. I mean, very intense throughout. What people went through with the Summer Sam killings, and it's a really good film, worth giving a go. Great performances by Leguizamo, Brody, Sorvino's good. Highly recommend that one. All right, number 4 is Black Klansman. By the way, the movie that actually won Spike Lee an Oscar, which of course for screenplay. I really like when Spike Lee won because Samuel Jackson was one who presented with the award, and I think it was Spike Lee actually jumped on Sam Jackson, which I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, Black Klansman, it is crazy to believe this is actually the only time Spike Lee got an Oscar love. That is insane to believe there, but Black Klansman is excellent. Of course, it is based on a true story of Ron Stallworth, who's a black police detective in 1970s Colorado who infiltrates the KKK by posing as a white supremacist over the phone. It's excellent. Of course, you got Denzel's son, John David Washington, Adam Driver, Laura Harris, Topher Grace. I think Adam Driver got an Oscar nomination for this, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong there. But it's still really excellent. Really showcase the racism of the 1970s and all. But it's really interesting, to say the least. I guess you say it's a movie that really put John David Washington on the map for most people. He did do stuff beforehand, like Ballers and all. But this is actually, like, pretty much his breakout role, and he was amazing. Really showcased his talents. Adam Driver is great. Really excellent film, worth giving a go. Alright, number 3 is Jungle Fever. Jungle Fever has a great cast. It actually had Halle Berry, and I think that was actually her film debut, if I'm not mistaken. You also got Wesley Snipes, Spike Lee himself, Ossie Davis, Ruby Dee, Sam Jackson. It is about a successful black architect, a flipper played by Wesley Snipes, who begins an affair with an Italian American secretary named Angie, played by Annabella Sciorra, and sparking black backlash from their families, communities, and it examines interracial relationships, racial prejudice, say against New York City's backdrop, and there's lots of drug use happening in this as well. Great performances by Wesley Snipes, Annabelle Sciorra is really good. I think this is actually the movie that put Wesley Snipes on the map. I could be mistaken there, but still, it is a great one. Spike Lee, of course, always had appearances in his stuff, and he does such a great job. Ossie Davis is great, playing the Reverend. Ruby Dee is always amazing. Really amazing film, to say the least. Alright, number 2 is Malcolm X. Now, of course, Denzel actually got an Oscar nomination for this. I always thought he won, but he never won for Malcolm X, so that's something there. But Malcolm X is still incredible. Of course, it stars Denzel Washington as a role of Malcolm X from his early days as a hustler to his transformation into the black nationalist leader and civil rights icon. It really showcased on who Malcolm X was. Of course, you got Angela Bassett, who played his wife Betty. Delroy Lindo was in this. Albert Hora. It is really intense at times. Great performances by Denzel. Really wonderful film. All right. And my number one favorite Spike Lee film is none other than Do the Right Thing. The movie that really put Spike Lee on the map for most people. Of course, the movie that put Giancarlo Esposito on the map for a lot of folks. John Turturro, Rosie Perez, who, by the way, does have a little cameo in Highest to Lowest, which was cool seeing her in that. But Do the Right Thing is excellent. It is, of course, a unbearable it is set during a summer day in Brooklyn's Bedford neighborhood, and racial tensions, escalates as South Pizzeria culminate in tragedy confrontation. Of course, this does explore race, community, and justice here. Great performances by Danny Aiello, Alex Davis, Ruby Dee. Of course, the movie that really put Giancarlo Esposito on the map. Obviously, he will go on to do more bigger stuff in the future. Of course, Sean Turturro is always great. By the way, his brother Nick Turturro has worked with, who is of course best known for Blue Bloods and NYPD Blue. He's actually worked with Spike Lee tons of times as well, and he actually has a little fun cameo in Highest to Lowest as a Yankee fan, which fun cameo by the way. But anyway, yeah, Do the Right Thing is really great. Great performances by I think Danny Aiello could have gotten some Oscar love for this. I don't think he really did, but yeah, Danny Aiello is great. Bill Nunn is terrific in this. Again, John Turturro really showcased how interesting New York City was back then, and the pizzeria that pizzeria is still open to say, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, Do the Right Thing is excellent if you guys haven't seen it. Alright, that's pretty much it there. Here is my quick rundown. Number 10, Crooklyn. 9, School Days. 8, Bamboozled. 7, Inside Man. 6, He Got Game. 5, Summer of Sam. 4, Black Klansman. 3, Jungle Fever. 2, Malcolm X. And number 1 is Do the Right Thing. Now, he's done other great stuff over the years as well. I actually quite like Chirac. Chirac, I feel like, is also one of his most underappreciated films. With Nick Cannon, Sam Jackson, John Cusack, Wesley Snipes was in that too. If you guys haven't seen Chirac, do yourself a favor, give that one a go. I actually did not mind his Old Boy remake. I know so many people low on it and stuff. The Five Bloods was a good one. Of course, that was his last movie he did. Girl 6, Clockers. His very first film is, of course, his first film is She's Got a Habit, which got turned into a TV show, which this show wasn't so bad either. Let's see. Yeah, Clockers, Mo Better Blues, also with Denzel. 25th Hour with Phil Seymour Hoffman, that was really good. She Hates Me. I mean, he has some really great films on his resume. Anyway, let me let you guys. What's some of your favorite Spike Lee movies? Drop comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for notification. This is Timmy Tire.